Thundergrunt.
Welcome to episode 2, about episode 2 of Disney's Star Wars, of Writers Blockbusters. Anyway, I'm Bob Rose.
I'm Jimmy George.
I'm Jamie Nash.
And we're going to talk today about the Last Jedi script, which is a Herculean task, if there ever was one. And we've got a really, really long list of topics to discuss. I mean, it's a pretty complex movie.
No, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, this is I would say maybe the most divisive Star Wars movie ever released.
Yeah.
The official canon Star Wars movie.
Yeah, I wasn't, I was too young to know how people reacted to Empire Strikes Back, but...
Yeah, that's what's weird. Empire probably got more hate. Not hate, but more, questions at the time than Return of the Jedi did. And it's kind of flip-flopped.
Really?
At the time. Yeah. Back in the day.
I'm too young to...
It's kind of like, how Temple of Doom kind of got a little bit of hate?
Yeah.
That it was kind of the same thing. And then it kind of leveled out as years went on. There's some people still hate on Temple of Doom a little more.
It's my favorite one.
Love it.
I'll just sit here and say it. I know me and Jamie have talked about the Temple of Doom thing before. We're not all going to agree all the time. Yeah. But I feel, obviously we're covering stuff here that has probably been covered to death.
Ad nauseum.
Ad nauseum on YouTube and in several blogs by everyone on Earth. But we're going to try to tackle this just from a script perspective.
Yeah, and this is a weird movie to tackle from just a script perspective, because this is like no script probably most of us will get a chance to write in our entire lives.
I couldn't even imagine. I would literally say no.
Yeah.
I couldn't. The stress would kill me.
Yeah, I mean, years of history, fan expectation, but then it's also part of a series that's then a sequel to another series, but then we'll have 10 more series in the next 2 years.
Not to mention side sequels and side prequels.
Battle for Endor.
Upcoming TV series and Battle for Endor, right?
Toys, video games, all that stuff. So it's definitely a weird one in that way it doesn't follow, any kind of rules. It's its own thing.
It's beholden to so much pre-existing material.
Before we get into the topics, I think everything Jamie just said do you find it weird, ballsy, amazing that Disney gave this whole franchise to one guy?
I can't believe it.
Because Force Awakens is the act of several people. It's Kasdan and Abrams all together. You know what I mean? But this is like a independent filmmaker,
right?
Where they were like, "You're doing it."
I think so. I'm of two minds of this, and I think the way it's happened is different than the way I thought going in that I think much like the Disney movies. I feel like I'm sorry, the Disney movie. This is all the Marvel movies, the Marvel Disney movies. I think there was this thing that Disney started to do where they tried to hire people they could bully a little more. Like, JJ's one thing. You can't bully JJ. JJ Abrams.
He's his own institution.
He's his own thing. Yeah. You can't bully George Lucas. You can't bully Steven Spielberg. But maybe somebody, Rian Johnson, you might be able to bully a little. Maybe some of these other, and we saw like Edgar Wright go away on Ant-Man and some of these other visionaries. And when I say bully, I mean, it's more like a TV model. They're in control of the storyline. They're in control of some of the production. And then that person kind of, rides it out. But that said, that's not the way this movie feels at all.
No.
It feels the opposite.
This doesn't feel like studio interference.
Feels his voice.
It feels like his voice.
Yeah.
From right down to the script.
Yeah,
like it doesn't feel like they made it like a sugar-coated, factory assembly line.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Thing at all.
Creatively it feels like the opposite of The Force Awakens for me. Yeah.
I agree. It's strange. And the one thing I'd say about Rian Johnson is of all his past work and stuff, he's one of these guys that's everybody seems to love. Like people that work with him always say really positive things. And for all the kind of meddling that Disney has done with the Star Wars movies, you didn't really hear that at all in this movie.
Maybe that's a testament to him.
Frank Oz recently joined Twitter which is great because it's like your favorite uncle joining Twitter. And he, like, one of the first things he said was that it was absolutely one of the most pleasurable experiences to work on this movie.
That's great.
With Rian Johnson. Like, the guy gets personal praise out the butt. So.
I knew like Vince Gilligan would constantly name drop Rian Johnson. Like, everybody just seems to love the guy. He's definitely
Do you think that's what led to less meddling? And not about the creative decisions, but just in general, because they were like,
I'm sure Disney doesn't care about a nice person.
No, I'm just saying, like, no one on set is like, we can't handle this.
Right.
I mean, I don't know anything about the development. I don't know that much about Rian Johnson, but I almost think that the two go hand in hand. Like, he must have listened to them. He must have.
Okay.
You know what I mean? He must have taken what they had and judoed it instead of deflecting it.
Okay.
He must be a guy that can hear the notes, which really is the job of the screenwriter, and actually done something positive with them.
Okay.
Or,
so you think it's more about he did what they wanted him to do, but he did his own thing with it?
I have to imagine that after what we've seen with the Solo, intrigue, and the Rogue One, what happened after the fact, I have to think that he's a guy, and the fact that they're bringing him back, they've already announced that he's going to do his own series.
I mean, that's a huge vote of confidence.
They announced his own trilogy after Abrams comes back for the next one, which is very weird.
Right.
And then Rian's going to just do his own trilogy.
Right.
That's intense.
So he must be really good at what he does and a real good people person or team player, because they just wouldn't hire somebody unless they were George Lucas and they own the vision and stuff like that. Yeah.
Well, and I mean, this script is the vision of a man, which I mean, I say that's a really important thing to talk about.
Right? Yeah,
it's that it's not like a collaboration,
right?
No,
I couldn't believe it actually when I found that out. I was like, they let that happen.
Yeah.
I think it is the only script so far in the series that even comes close to being a sole screenwriter on the script. I didn't IMDb that, but I'm pretty sure he's the sole screenwriter.
And because the originals, they all have multiple. Is George Lucas the only one on
maybe
New
on
Hope?
the first? Yeah, on New Hope.
I mean, he's always going to get story character credits.
Yeah. But as far as collaboration,
then it goes to Kasdan. And Kasdan.
Well,
again.
the prequels were pretty much George.
I've heard stories that other people have came in to help with some of the. They did revisions, not enough to be credited. But they came in and did actual
Without
revisions.
getting into it, what did they do?
Yeah.
Did they help? Was it worse?
I think they were coming to do punch up on the love story of the dialogue.
Oh, God. Okay.
But yeah, so the other thing I'd say about this one, especially compared to Force Awakens, so Force Awakens kind of had a long history as far as screenwriters.
Mm-hmm.
I think it started out with a George Lucas treatment, which the treatment apparently was very similar to this to the beginning of The Last Jedi. I think it had Luke in it. It had Rey seeking him out as a mentor, and a lot of the elements that are in Last Jedi actually were influenced. So
The Last Jedi honestly seems more like a George Lucas movie, but better executed. Yeah. Does that make sense? This seems like. I know that sounds terrible, but
no. I mean, I get what you're saying. A George Lucas prequel.
Conceptually, this seems like something he probably would have come up with, but it's executed better than I think old George Lucas would have executed.
One thing I have to give George credit for. I mean, as much as people hate on him and stuff, I always got the feeling George was striving to put new and original concepts in his movies.
Yes.
So even something like Return of the Jedi, which is the first one he started to kind of go to the Death Star, but still it had speeder bikes. Yeah. It had that weird Jabba scene in the beginning. That was bizarre. I mean, that was a bizarre scene to throw in these movies, like nothing we'd seen. In Phantom Menace even, there was Darth Maul. It was a different type of story. It always seemed like he was trying to do different. He put a diner in the movie. What was that? Attack of the Clones. I mean, I'm not saying these ideas are
diner,
good.
But it was trying.
He wasn't just doing.
It didn't feel like rehashes ever.
He always felt like he was trying to justify the fact that he was doing another one by bringing original ideas.
Yeah.
Force Awakens, of course, we saw it was more in touch with the nostalgia and rebooting stuff.
Yeah.
But this movie, again, it felt like
also Kasdan was involved in writing that. I mean, like, I think that has a lot to do with it too, right? I mean,
yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
probably so.
Yeah, and you have maybe the biggest peddler of nostalgia in the world right now directing it. I mean, that's what that movie was.
That's true.
You're right.
Right.
I mean, do you think that Last Jedi feels new? Or do you feel like it's rehashing?
So, and jumping ahead a little bit, which
jumping
is fine.
ahead. We're on the topic. I feel like let's talk.
Yeah, there's like 30 points here we need to talk. So let's talk. Just jump into it.
So if you look at it, it definitely hits a lot of similar beats as Empire Strikes Back. It basically takes the Hoth thing out of it and starts from there, right?
Yeah.
It starts with a chase through space. And then on the flip side, it has the mentor story.
Yeah.
And so it almost starts in the Act 2 side of Empire, and then it puts the Hoth scene kind of in the back end.
Yeah.
And so it definitely has that. But I think doing that, it felt different. It felt structured different. It didn't feel like the same movie. The thing I always got from Empire is Empire really felt like a serial. The Hoth thing, you felt like you could almost take that out. It was its own complete story. It was fun.
It's pretty inconsequential.
It's inconsequential.
Yeah.
It's
but
awesome.
iconic, though.
Oh, yeah.
I think it stands out.
Yeah,
more than anything. But you're right. It's not.
And then the chase through space is almost, it feels like just an episode. That's the way I almost viewed Empire, is it felt like a TV season. Like I could see it as a TV season. We start the first few episodes on Hoth. Then the next few episodes, Luke's at Dagobah and they're getting chased through space. And then the next few episodes is the intrigue at Cloud City.
It's a dense movie with so much stuff in it. It really is.
It's like 3 complete movies that are kind of
But isn't that tone what these movies are kind of aiming for, though?
Yeah.
Let's serialize.
I think so.
I think so.
Old space serial type of thing.
But I think for some reason, A New Hope and Return of the Jedi both felt more arch or something. They like felt like the one felt hero's journey, the first Star Wars movie, The New Hope, and then Return of the Jedi, because it had the big climactic ending, we knew this was the last movie. It was going somewhere, the whole time. Though that Jabba scene is pretty bizarre.
It's very
thrown in a Sarlacc pit and all this stuff. Anyway, George always was trying to throw some new stuff in there, I think.
For me, I think the similarities are there to reverse our expectation. To me, they're deliberately put in there because he wants to say, like, I know you've seen this before, and I'm going to do something different.
Flip that script.
Yeah.
That's
to me, I think it's a deliberate, not because this is how these movies should follow, but to like reverse your expectation, for me at least.
I honestly, I didn't, when I was sitting there watching it, I didn't feel like this is Empire rehashed. I never felt that way. It was more after the fact.
Never occurred to me.
Yeah.
Honestly, never did. I think a lot because of the Casino Planet stuff that's in there, and that doesn't feel like Empire at all.
No.
So yeah,
for some reason in my head,
it does feel like the prequel.
For some reason in my head, though, I justified a lot of that scene, and it sounds like I'm attacking it, as Cloud City, because it kind of has a Lando character. He does a betrayal. There's some elements of it, but it's
tonally, I totally like. Benicio does kind of feel like he could almost be a Calrissian, but then he turns out
it would have been a great role for.
But he is a flip of the script almost on Lando.
In fact, Rian Johnson said Lando was originally in that role.
Oh,
that was
I did not know that.
But because Lando already had a betrayal like that, it didn't make sense for the character.
Okay, to do it so
again.
late.
I think I saw that somewhere.
That sounds right. It feels like the code breaker should have been Lando. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I'm not,
It would have been a great pop.
Yeah.
If all of a sudden Billy D. Williams walks out.
He's in the casino. He's got
people would have
lost
their mind.
Yeah, it would have been so awesome.
He's got enough of. I think he's had enough of a comeback in a lot of ways. Like he was in Lego Batman and he played Harvey Dent.
Yes.
So they finally played Two-Face. We fixed the wrong of Billy D. Williams' career. So we just covered a bunch of stuff. Let's talk about the opening scene, the tone, because I think that's one of the biggest points where people kind of left this movie or like went with it was throwing. I think throwing the lightsaber was genius, but I know a lot of people is when they checked out of the movie because they hated they took it as a cheap joke, or it was lazy screenwriting. Or
I don't hear Jamie's.
What my take on that?
Yeah, on the tone.
So I did think there was some the tone of it, the comedic tone. There were times where I did feel like it was almost too jokey.
Mm-hmm.
The one that really hit me, and I'm of a mixed mind of this because I like funny stuff. I like to have fun in a movie, and if you can make me laugh, I'll almost forgive you, even if it doesn't fit. So the one that always sticks out to me, even more than the Porgs or some of the Chewbacca and the Porg stuff, was when Luke comes out and dusts himself off from the big explosion. Remember that at the end of the third act, and he does this little like it's almost like a Saturday Night Live move or something.
Yeah,
it's kind of silly. That said, on the lightsaber part, well, I got a big laugh. I didn't really feel like that was a tone breaker, even though I think it was a tone setter.
Yeah,
because it happened so early. It was just like, this is not going to end the way you think it's going to end.
It kind of sets up the entire movie.
Yeah.
That one moment.
Yeah, I think for me, if I don't have a problem with the comedy in general, but there's so many moments just like in the Guardians movies, and it works for the Guardians movies because that's what they are.
Yeah.
Anytime there's like a heavy moment that would have magic to it in the old trilogy and is treated with seriousness, it like treats itself seriousness, there's then this comedy beat that like winks like, we know that was serious but this is a more fun movie, that
are you saying
it's
almost a loss of sincerity?
Yes, it's almost like
a problem I think a lot of scripts have these days, honestly.
It's the snark.
Right? It's one of the hardest
snark,
things writers.
the modern snark, right? We have these characters who a lot.
Marvel's been criticized roundly for it.
You hit it, man, for me. Like,
yeah,
it's even like when you watch like some of the deleted scenes that came out with the Blu-ray of the Return of the Jedi, the magic even is there even in the deleted scenes. There's no context. It's just like Luke messing with the lightsaber, but the magic is there. And then here it's like
they were creating history back then, and now it's just like
I'm talking about from a storytelling, from a screenwriting standpoint.
Yeah,
it feels like the tonal shift. No, it stops taking it's too self-aware. That's self-awareness is what I'm going for here. When it starts joking after the serious moment happens, it becomes self-aware. Like, to me, the opening scene is so self-aware. Like, it feels like a Simpsons skit.
Which was when me and Jimmy first talked about like opening night. Mm-hmm. You said that to me. You were like, it was too self-aware.
It's like, and hey guys, we're watching a skit like the Kylo Saturday Night Live skit. Yeah, it feels like it could be side by side with that skit. I'm holding for Hux.
Don't you think that this new trilogy even there's a aspect to it that is meta and self-aware?
Yeah.
Like the whole thing is about the old trilogy in a way, but doing it again and different. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I think to a certain extent, it's acknowledging who Mark Hamill has become in pop culture.
Yes.
As opposed to who he was in the original trilogy. So, and here's a weird thing that I'll admit. In some ways, I liked Luke Skywalker in this movie more than I've liked him in other movies.
Yeah.
Not because, and those movies are my favorite movies, and this movie isn't. But I like this Mark Hamill.
Yeah, me too.
I don't think there's anything wrong with saying that Mark Hamill is like, he's the don't get me wrong, I'm not insulting Kermit the Frog, but he's kind of the Kermit the Frog of the Star Wars Muppets.
That's right.
Yeah.
Like no one,
he's not supposed to be the guy everybody wants to be for Halloween.
Yeah, he's not the animal or the Fozzie or the Rolf. Everyone has their favorite Muppet. No one
we want to be Han Solo.
No one was ever like, I want to Luke is my favorite character. And I think this movie made him my favorite character.
Right. That's what I
if I had a compliment to this movie is like, wow, I actually really identify and love Luke Skywalker now.
Yeah.
That's right. Maybe he's the closest. I'm going to say this, but it's probably not true. Han Solo in the original trilogy was the representative of a modern man. He was us. He was the closest thing to what my father watching the movie in the audience, like making a little joke or something, where everybody else almost felt like they were in kind of like a stiff fantasy movie.
Yeah.
Whereas I think Mark Hamill is approaching that in this movie in a weird sort of way.
That's a good point.
Like he's kind of, even though he's playing the Obi-Wan Kenobi role.
Yeah.
Which is strange. And that's the part that's hard to get my head around. Because while I like the character they created for him, I'm not sure if I like it for that guy projected to now. I'm not sure.
And so from a writing standpoint.
But from a story aspect and writing, don't you feel like Obi-Wan went through that same change? Like, the prequels are canon, and we can never get away from that. And I think Ewan McGregor is probably the best part of the prequels.
Right.
But he's a verifiably different human being from then to when we meet him in A New Hope. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, if you look at those two characters, they're different.
Yeah.
Don't you think that that's almost kind of this is what Jedis do? They disappear and come back as grumpy old men.
But his reasoning for disappearing is completely
different. It's different.
Obi-Wan's
but you know what I'm saying, though? It happened before.
And I would say Obi-Wan's stance, though, later on, isn't quite as it's more perfect. It's more of a Mary Sue or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
I mean, he really is. He's a character that has all the answers, but he also has hope. Like, I think Yoda's more the worrywart, and Obi-Wan's more like, I trust that these guys. He's more optimistic. He's less pessimistic. Yeah. Whereas in this movie, The Last Jedi, I think Luke is more. He's the pessimist. He's the grump. He's the one. He's the Yoda in that sense.
Exactly.
As someone, I think the three of us, we really didn't talk about this, but I love the movie. Jimmy, you feel
you've grown to
love
appreciate it and love it.
I actually like it. I just have a lot of talking points. I enjoyed watching it.
You said lukewarm earlier, so I was
lukewarm.
But
I'm warm toward Luke. No, it's hard for me to quantify how it is because I definitely would give it a thumbs up, and I love the conceptual territory it went. I was born in 71, so by 77 I was like a 6-year-old seeing Star Wars.
Wow.
And
you can't really replace that
magic. It changed my world. It was my life. I mean, collecting Star Wars cards is what we did in first grade. We saw the toys being introduced. We grew up with that. So it's hard for me to even compare. I'm not beholden to the originals. I'm not somebody I've never seen the Ewok movies.
I can't. I'm still stunned over here.
Yeah,
I've never played Star Wars Battlefront or read all those books or whatever or any of that stuff. So I'm not that guy. I'm perfectly fine with them blazing a new trail. But anyway, that's just to explain why. I liked it as a movie. I have my quibbles. But it's not like they ruined my religion or anything like that. Yeah.
Well, I mean, this is definitely playing with that, though, right? That's what this whole movie's about. Don't you think it's a response, just as Force Awakens is a response to the prequels, sort of? This is a response to fandom?
Yeah, I also think it's such a bummer saying that because I feel like everything that's rebooted and, like the Star Treks, and they're all not their own thing anymore.
They're responses.
They're just responses.
To tone and fandom.
And can it be its own thing? I feel like it still can. I feel like they don't have to be responses.
I think after watching this movie, I call him Rian. Rian Johnson and his new trilogy could very much be its own thing.
It doesn't have to be a response.
The Skywalkers of the past, he's going to move away from them.
The recent announcement of the Game of Thrones guys doing their series, though, I start worrying that one of them is probably going to be more connected than the other. Does that make sense? Like,
one of them's going to be
I don't feel like both of them can totally go off just to their own separate corners of the galaxy. It seems too weird. Like, one almost feels like we'll have to play safe. I have a feeling it'll be his. I don't know why. Because I think it'll be connected maybe to this movie.
Maybe that's something like some people. Let's get into other things and I'll talk about.
Yeah, we'll get into other things. You can only write so much before things go bad.
Yeah. It's true.
We've reached a critical mass here of Star Wars stories. We're getting the next one in less than a year.
Yeah.
And the stuff's not special anymore, so they're going to start getting weird with it, which could be amazing.
It could be great, yeah.
Or it could be like the worst thing ever.
Well, an excellent... I mean, the weirdest part about this movie, I think, to me, was that JJ didn't feel involved with it.
Not at all.
So, and I've heard things, and it seems crazy to come up with a series where one director does the first movie without any real consideration of the second movie and the third movie.
Yeah.
And it really speaks to the J.J. Abrams-ness of it. It's like that whole mystery box thing that he presented with Lost, which is basically...
I'm the least fan of this ever. I hate
the mystery box?
I hate it.
Well, essentially it is.
Go ahead.
Essentially it's the thing that I wish I could do as a writer. I just want to write the first act and let somebody else figure it out.
You create all the questions.
But that's what I don't like about the mystery box term.
It's kind of like hook the audience, but don't worry about paying it off.
Yeah, there aren't pre-made answers.
Isn't that like a hack,
have the questions?
Isn't that a hack idea?
I mean, I guess the way to translate it is it's all about eyeballs and worry about the rest after you get the eyeballs.
I mean, personally, I reverse engineer things.
So you know what's in the box?
And no. So no, what I'm saying is I'm with you.
Right.
I think I don't think it's a good idea to write a story and not know where you're going.
Isn't it bizarre that it seems like that's how the series? I mean,
it is.
That's how it's going.
It is. They don't know where it's gonna end.
After watching this movie, what could they possibly write for the third one?
Well, like that's the weird thing about this movie. To me, this movie felt more like a final movie.
It feels like Act 3.
It doesn't feel like a setup for Act 3.
No, I almost feel like they could be like, and Star Wars is over forever.
Yeah.
And like it literally just ends here, and that's
you think all of those kids are gonna have force powers and
well, they basically said
you don't want to see Neo go past flying.
No.
And when you do, you're sad because you never wanted to see it in the first place. Right.
They basically said the characters we care about really don't matter as much as these other people out there that we don't even know. So it's kind of like the end, right? It's like we don't need to care about Rey and some of these other people anymore. These other, there's hope in the world. They will help. They will conquer the evil.
God, so true. Man, so I want to talk about like the story construction because it's really complicated.
Please.
And like Jamie had asked the question, like, what is the log line? And I really struggled to...
And that's why I asked the question, because I didn't have an answer. I wanted to see what you'd come up with.
Man, it's all over the place, you know? For me, one of the things that's really strange is upon seeing it multiple times, I really think this is Luke Skywalker's story. And I wouldn't have said that from the trailers. I wouldn't have said that from the first viewing. The reason why...
You're saying they marketed it as Rey's story.
It is supposed to be Rey's story. The audience is there now invested in Rey. Right? And she starts the A story driving that story, so the A story for me personally, I think, is the survival of the Resistance. It is the Resistance fleet, Leia, all the people on those ships, and like the Resistance in general, right? And it rests on Luke Skywalker taking action and igniting the spark that will save them, right? So when it starts, the whole first like half hour is Rey is the one who is tasked with making that happen, right? But then when he says no, she just gets out of there, and she is not involved whatsoever in saving the Resistance. So it's no longer her driving the story.
Right. Yeah.
But the A story remains. So as a screenwriter, this is like not what we do. We don't like take the main character out of the A story, right? So like for me, Luke's action in the end is what ultimately saves everything. And if Luke hadn't acted, then the movie's over, the Resistance is over, everything's done. And so for me, it's Luke Skywalker's story, like this movie, and Rey and Kylo are the B story.
I don't think there's any right or wrong to it, because I think we'd have equal trouble summarizing Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah, that's
because it does. Luke's story is kind of separate from Han and Leia, and then Hoth is separate from that, and it's kind of all big, mismatch. I think the easier log line is probably the Rebels. It's like because they have a goal to escape the bad guys who are chasing them, and they're on their trail before their fuel runs out. So there's like this ticking clock.
Yeah, the ticking clock and the stakes.
But I don't think anybody that comes away from that movie would summarize like, hey, what's Last Jedi about? I don't think they'd say that's what it was about.
No, I know.
Go Luke Skywalker.
I know, but like watching it now, I think that's what it is about.
Yeah, and the Luke Skywalker stuff, I think you put it in a neat way. Rey's almost like his inciting incident. Yeah, it's his ordinary world is just sitting there drinking blue milk with the nuns.
He would have literally died on that island.
Yeah,
if no one came.
That
and
was his
him.
goal.
No, he was.
His goal was to do nothing.
Yeah. And then she comes and disrupts things.
Yeah.
Rey is like a plot point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's the character arc of the movie. He learns the lesson. He has to overcome and change to bring about the finale. Yeah. So I can kind of see that.
Because for me, so the B story, like, because I was trying to think about what it was, and I had a really hard time with this one because the movie is really all over the place.
Kylo.
I think it is the
Kylo Rey.
I think it's Kylo and Rey have the same question, which is, will they fulfill their destiny, right? Will they realize their full potential of who they are and use that power for good or evil?
Which also feels like a meta arc, doesn't it?
Yes, it is.
It almost feels like the whole time I felt like it was like the movie saying, can they hold the franchise? Also,
wow.
That I know that's another meta thing about it, because like, can we do this? Can I be? The whole thing is about him being the next Darth. Can I be the next Darth Vader? Can you be the next Luke? Can we do this? Who are we?
But I also thought that was weird, because
isn't that what they're
asked
doing,
us about Finn's story as being the same, kind of the same, but I feel like Rey and Kylo's questions are kind of the same as they are in the first one. Like, will they become, harness their powers for good or harness their powers for evil? It's kind of the same thing.
You mean rehashing from Force Awakens?
Yeah, from Force Awakens. Yeah, even for Kylo and Rey.
They kind of haven't moved.
They haven't moved.
Yeah, even.
And Finn, that was one of my disappointments, actually, with the Finn story. It feels like we're in the same territory he was in the last story. Like, it feels like he's done a lot to prove himself, and yet he's back in a position of trying to prove himself.
Well, if I could talk on Finn for a second. Sure. Because Finn was my favorite part of Force Awakens.
Mine too.
Me too.
Because I thought that like a redacted stormtrooper is an idea I never thought of.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's a great idea. And him in this movie is a confusing lot. But seeing it a second time, what came to me was that he's almost... you have those friends who were like homeschooled and they didn't have much of a life, and then they grow up later.
Yeah.
Like those weird people, that like needed to have their childhood later in life. He's kind of in this movie like a young boy looking at everything, wondering what it's about, because he never had a life, but he's now a man who is going through this insane war and resistance that he was honestly supposed to kill. And he's this young girl is like teaching him all these life lessons, and the whole time he's like sitting there wide-eyed like, oh like he's like a young boy experiencing an action movie, because he never had the chance to even like talk to human beings.
I know he
before.
didn't. Yeah.
So it's a hard character to write, because it's like he's presented to the audience as this warrior, but he's actually like just this like infant.
Yeah.
And this movie is him like almost this other person who has these morality and these values and is trying to teach him about the world, and like these are the bad people and these are the good people, and here's who you can trust and you can. The whole time this movie, Finn is just kind of like, what?
Yeah, and what? That's interesting.
That's what I took from it.
I can't.
That's a good point.
You saying that, a lot of that makes sense, because he's kind of a naive character.
Naivete,
yeah.
But the other thing that connects with that I didn't think of until you said it is there's sort of this question of what is a hero threaded through this.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So,
with all the arcs,
that's the thing. That's the thing that you just connected for me. Poe's question is, what is a hero? He's like a leader, a hero. Am I the guy who just charges in, or am I going to, make these bigger plans?
Am I Han Solo or not?
Exactly. And Han Solo learned that arc in kind of the first movie. Am I just the guy who runs off after that, or do I become, the guy who helps in the mission? But Finn now, according to you, which I agree, has that arc as well. Finn is like, he thinks he's a hero because he's going to help Rey. Right. But what's her name? Rose. Rose is like, that you're not being heroic. You're just taking off.
You're being selfish.
Yeah. So he's thinking he's being a hero. Poe's thinking he's being a hero. And so both of them, and I'm sure we could make the same case for Luke as well in that regard.
Yeah, that's a good point, that he's connected. Being by
so it's like
inaction. For me though, it's
being
interesting
a hero
that
versus
you say
selfish.
That. I agree with what you're saying, that now that you say that he's thinking he's being a hero to help Rey. Mm-hmm. I actually came about a completely different idea,
which is a youthful thought.
Yeah, it's really youthful.
It's very egocentric.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Just before you jump into your spot, I think Luke is thinking like that's how the Jedis used to think. They thought they were being the heroes, but they were screwing everything up. So it's kind of all tying together in a DNA thread. Yeah,
that's really smart, though.
And they're also, you could also even, like you're saying, the Jedis were actually trying to enact their agenda of what they believed was right. And what they wanted the world or galaxy to be.
Their view of heroes.
But were they really helping is the question. Just like him only saving Rey, is that helping anyone, or is that helping
or
you?
Just like the end. And you made an interesting question. We'll get into when you asked.
Go ahead, sorry.
No, it's okay.
Interrupted you.
No, it's okay. He literally says, because I just saw this yesterday. She calls him a hero, and he says 100% with fully genuine, I'm not a hero, at the very beginning of the movie. I actually think his arc is cynical. Like, he doesn't believe that he can make a difference. Like, he's literally trying to help Rey because he thinks Rey is the one who can make a difference. Like, for me, his motivations to make sure Rey will be safe is not out of heroics because I want to save her. It's about he thinks she's the one who can help everybody, and he can't.
That's a good point.
And he is not a guy. He's just a fucking stormtrooper who is not heroic. I think
he views himself as a cog.
His arc, for me, his arc is learning I can make a difference too, which also is one of the greater messages of the movie. Is we all have it within us to do things to help others, to make a difference. You know, that's like what they say. And I wouldn't have caught on to that if he didn't say it with such sincerity. And it's like one of his first lines in the movie is, I'm no hero. Like, he says it straight up, like, stop calling me a hero because I'm not worthy. You know, so for me, it was a cynicism thing and learning. And in the end, when he's like trying to sacrifice, because I agree with you, like you asked, like, does Rose saving him fuck that up? Like, fuck up what the movie is trying to do with his character. And I think it does.
Yeah.
Like,
he was finally going to lay that heroism on the line and sacrifice himself for the greater good. And then she crashes into him for some reason.
And to me, the movie thinks that's enough. Like, it's enough that he wanted to do it. I think the movie is trying to say, we need Finn in for another movie.
We don't want to kill him.
Yeah, but he was gonna complete his character arc and do the heroic self-sacrificial thing. Yes, and they think the intent alone, but I don't know.
It's
I
like
disagree.
if Bruce Willis somehow got saved at the end of Armageddon. That was, you know, like,
yes,
right. Like, then what was the sacrifice for?
Yes.
He wanted to do it. So.
But you're exactly, Bob. Like,
but intention is important.
Intention is important.
Finn was definitely going to kill himself.
Yeah.
So
I guess it's enough. But for me,
right.
The movie, his story is, like, I can't make a difference, and then by the end, like, I can make a difference. Like, I can sacrifice myself, and I don't need Rey to do something big. My actions alone can be important.
It was like, I feel like it's splitting hairs, but the message that Rose gives him, obviously the big line from the movie, don't fight what you hate, hold up what you love, or whatever she says. Right? That's technically what she says. I don't think it undermines what he was doing.
No, okay.
She's just saying you can be a hero and sacrifice yourself, but you're doing it for the wrong reason right here. Right.
Gotcha. I think that's a good point.
I don't know if I could actually figure out what he should be doing, but you know what I mean? Like, I don't think she was undermining him being sacrificial.
Yeah, I think his only mistake there, if there was a mistake, was that it probably wasn't going to work.
But they were still going to kill the resistance.
I'm pretty sure that gun would just decimate that thing.
That's a good point.
I think his intentions were actually in the right place, that her crashing into him, which was actually very dangerous and could have killed both of them, which would have been a great twist.
Yeah.
And they're both dead. Okay.
Yep.
But yeah.
Is it too base to say that his arc is just learning?
No, I don't think so.
I know that's what I said earlier. It's just
no, it's not at all.
The whole movie feels like a child learning about the world.
Yeah,
because the last one was him waking up and being like, "Well, I'm just gonna fight. They're the bad guys. I will fight." You know?
And then when he gets there to Canto Bight and she reveals all this stuff that's eye opening to him. When they're leaving Canto Bight, he's the one who's then saying, like, "I'm so glad we did that." Like, that was
also opening his eyes to what is even corruption. Like, he didn't even understand it, and now he does. You know,
that's a good point.
Yeah, because that's what I guess DJ's purpose is and stuff, is to kind of feed you with, you know, war is more than just black and white, you know, evil versus good. So,
I love his character in the movie. I really do.
Even in a sense, that probably is some of the learning that Finn gets. You know, there's shades of gray here. I wasn't just evil when I was a stormtrooper versus I'm not just good now because I'm this. You know?
That's good.
That's a lot of themes. That means also Finn's mere existence asks the question, what are stormtroopers?
Yeah.
Do they all have this potential and stuff? That could be exploited later.
I think there's too many themes in the movie, but
no, I don't want it to be exploited. No, I don't want that to be asked in this movie. I'm just saying, like, maybe Rian Johnson could explore that later. Like if stormtroopers can be reverted, that's huge.
That is a huge
I mean, it's a huge thing.
Yeah.
You know, they are not mindless drones. They are humans.
Worthy of asking, given the fact that we've seen 6 movies with them, 5 movies with them.
No, but it's something that interests me. Like from a writing aspect, I've always asked this about Tolkien. There's got to be orcs that are like this. Why are we doing this? I don't understand why we're fighting for something we can't even see. Minions always interest me a lot. So I would love if he explored. Like Finn, maybe like Finn's ultimate goal is maybe awakening other stormtroopers and stuff.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
That would interest me so much. But we're not talking about the future. I know that.
It's not yet.
Yeah, we're still talking about Last Jedi.
So what do you guys think? Do you think that Rey had a compelling goal in the movie?
I think Rey is the hard one for me to know. Here's the thing: when Rey shows up there, I'm not sure that I totally buy her urgency to be trained. You know, I don't quite, but that might be more of a problem with The Force Awakens. You know what I mean? Like that she really, really is such a Luke Skywalker fanboy that she wants to get trained by the best. And why she stays there's really no urgency when he first throws the lightsaber over and stuff. Like I could see her just shrugging and being like, I'm getting out of here. This guy's a jerk.
Well, you're not doing anything for me. So,
And so why she stays there and stuff is even, my memory of it is even a little muddled in my brain. So maybe I know you just saw it yesterday. So maybe you.
Well, isn't it the reputation of Luke Skywalker?
I think it is the reputation.
It's the reputation, and that she even said like the entire resistance is relying on this. So I think the stakes of like the resistance relying on his action are what keeps her there. But also pretty quickly upon her arrival, she starts hearing voices and things like that keep her there.
Right.
It's only like the third scene with her that she starts hearing the voices on the.
So yeah, I might have muddled that a little bit. So is her motivation to actually bring him back into the fight?
Yeah, definitely.
And then his compromise to that, she eventually convinces him to just train. Like I'll train you, and you can go. And back
you can do it.
Fight.
He wants to. He wants to half-assedly awaken her connection to the Force, so she can just go and be the Luke Skywalker they need. Exactly.
Like, do you feel like talking about Rey and everything, like the overarching theme of like this whole movie is characters who don't think they can do it?
It's failure, yeah. Oh.
Well, not just failure. Like it seems like everyone
fear of failure.
Or just the characters that don't think they're the one that can do anything. Yeah. Even down to Kylo.
I think there's the question of what is my value is a huge question in this movie.
Who am I and what am I worth?
Yeah.
I heard another screenwriter say recently that there's only 2 kinds of character arcs. Okay, and I don't know that I necessarily
keep it simple for me. I'll take it.
So I don't know that I necessarily.
I wish that was.
Yeah, I wish that was true.
But it's a good shorthand. So he says you either learn to care more, or you get self-confidence, and they're the only 2 character arcs.
Okay.
And in this case, self-confidence would be what you're saying.
Yeah.
Or caring more. They're kind of.
But they could all be based down to. Learn to care more or gain self-confidence. I love that.
It's a simple.
Well, they all definitely care in this movie. I don't think care is except for Luke. Luke is a carer. The 2 stories. I guess he's right if you just apply it to this movie. Luke he learns to care more, and the others all learn to have confidence. Okay, fine, you're right.
Yeah, Luke knows what the fuck he's doing. He's like, I just don't. I'm detached from all of this.
Yeah, I don't think there's ever a doubt in Luke's mind that he could help.
Yeah,
I think he just doesn't. I'm on this island. I like the milk. What do you want?
Yeah. That could be.
I don't want to leave. Okay. Yeah, I've never heard that before, Jamie. That's interesting.
I heard it and it stuck with me, so I'm going to use. That's going to be a test. We'll test it out over the course of this podcast.
I like that.
Yeah. Okay. Jamie, you were saying something. We interrupted.
What was I saying? Oh no,
something brilliant,
something amazing,
something amazing. Yeah, right.
So just repeat amazing.
No,
brilliance.
We were talking about Rey's motivation and
we were just asking about her. You know, does she have a compelling goal?
Do you guys, as screenwriters, do you feel like Rey gets lost in this movie?
Absolutely,
definitely.
Yeah,
I only saw it that opening night. I've only seen it that one time, but read a lot about and been thinking about it a lot. I do need to see it again. And that's why I barely remember what she was doing. I remember all of Luke's stuff.
That's telling in itself.
Yeah. but I barely remember why she was there or what she was there. I remember that she's talking to Kylo. I remember, but I lose a lot, and I couldn't remember at all what happens to her after she leaves the planet, and I think because not much.
This reminds me of one of your points.
So the throne room.
Yes, exactly what I was looking for. That's her scene. If there was a scene in the movie, that's her scene. But here's the thing. Yeah.
In the end, it's consequential because she is just in time is there to lift the rocks, right? If she wasn't there to lift the rocks, Kylo gets them all and kills them all, right? And if she didn't learn from Luke how to connect herself with the Force, then that wouldn't have happened either. But the throne room itself, once it ends, she looks out the window and says, "You can stop them now from killing all of my friends." And he doesn't do anything. So at the moment, for a good part of the movie, it's like inconsequential. Like when the scene ends and everything,
I wouldn't say it's inconsequential though. It's the character thought it was going to affect.
That's true. The character thought
she was on a mission, and it turned out that she was wrong.
It's a little like the old Raiders of the Lost Ark. You know, just let the Nazis get the Ark and they'll die or something.
Right.
Yeah, that's
right.
But after that, she disappears for like 25 minutes, and she doesn't show up again until she's with Chewie and is firing the guns. Like, I like this. This is fun.
Yeah.
I will say though, the connection between her and Kylo, of course, has ramifications for the future.
Yeah, let's talk about the throne room scene. Okay, it's like just in general.
And that's really the scene. Like, for me, I was a little bit disengaged with a lot of the movie early on. Like, this is why I think I don't love it. But then when we got to that throne room, that's when I became engaged.
Yeah.
That's when I decided I loved the movie. That scene.
That made me sit up. And it's almost impossible, the fact that watching that scene, I didn't know what the answer was going to be. I honestly thought Kylo might become a good guy at that scene.
Me too.
I honestly thought Rey maybe becomes kind of this, gray character or something, where I didn't know what was going to happen. And pulling that off is really a feat.
It's not just his answer, but also like in that moment, in that entire scene, I didn't know there's three huge things that happen, which was Snoke dies and he reveals that her parents are nobodies. And then Kylo and her have the discussion of, is he going to turn? And all that stuff, like you just said about Kylo's turning, the other two, I also didn't know what was going to happen.
Yeah,
that's true.
And the two things happened in a way that I was so ready to be bored by the answers.
Yeah.
And they happened in the exact opposite way I was expecting. So
Snoke,
that's when I was like, all right, I'm down. Whatever you're doing, I don't care. I'm down with this movie.
If Snoke leaned back and said, "Let me tell you, Rey Kenobi."
Yeah.
And then we went into flashbacks.
Yeah,
And sadly, that's what the fans
wanted.
Fans want things that's why we have writers.
Right.
Because, if you just give fans what they want, new characters would die, the bad guys would be killed.
And Luke would just be like some kind of superhero samurai that would show up and kill everyone.
There would be no obstacles or conflicts. Writers are there to punish the characters. Which means punish the audience. I mean, that's what we're there to do, right? We're there to kind of torture the audience and then give them release in the end by giving them something positive or something. But we're kind of there to do that. So yeah, I think anyway, I totally forgot what you said.
Oh, I was just saying how all the huge things that happen in that scene outside of the fighting. The Kenobi thing, and I think the biggest one for me is her parents being no one, because to me that was just saying, that was number one, defining what these movies are now. And it kind of goes with everything we were saying before about the script. Like, she cares, and she didn't know why, and now she doesn't. She knows less why.
Yeah.
Like, she knows that there's no reason for her to be her anymore.
Yeah. They do hint at this thought that she doesn't believe she's special because she knows her parents aren't special. And that the answer to that question then says, okay, are you going to harness what you really are now that you know that your definition of special is out the window?
It's out the window. It's gone.
And I guess that's a meta answer.
Choice is the only thing you have.
Yeah.
There's no other.
And again, as somebody who saw the movie yesterday, is
I feel like we should have saw it too.
I know, exactly. Welcome to a podcast where we've never seen a movie and we talk about a movie.
I saw it twice. I only saw it once.
I only saw it once. So
I didn't mean, I wasn't nosing it. Like...
No. I honestly, I'm using your memory as
because
a
you got the
thing.
freshest,
freshest
picture.
Memory. So, did she care? This is just something I don't remember, that she's special, or did she just? Is that a motivating factor? Did she need to be special? Because I remember from the first movie, she cared that they were going to come back.
It seemed to me
she knew.
in that scene that she knew she wasn't.
Because Kylo says, my favorite line in the movie, say it. Is when he says say it. When he says say it, because she
to
knows
me,
it.
That's her self-doubt. Like, I am not worthy of what is being expected of me because my parents are not Kenobis or Skywalkers. They're just some drunks.
The genius part of fandom is that now, like, the movie is all about how the speculation for years was wrong, and then people are already speculating that her parents, he's lying.
Yeah, that's some bullshit.
You're missing the point.
So there is a part of me though that feels like this is bad improv.
Yeah, okay? I agree.
So improv, what's the only rule of improv? It's yes and. So the one rule of improv, if you ever do improv, is never deny what the other person set up. So you can't say something like, and I'm not saying that this was even presented this way. I think fans took it and ran with it. But you can't say something like, Rey is the descendant of somebody great. No, that doesn't matter. That's what you can't do in improv. And there was kind of a lot of that in this movie. And I think that's this mystery box filmmaking and stuff. That the twist was, there's no twist.
There's no twist.
Yeah.
But that's a huge twist, right? For these movies especially. For their genre and their franchise.
It's dangerous when you have a huge rabid fan base that likes to speculate.
I'm not saying it made people happy, dude.
Yeah. It's like remember the last episode of The Sopranos? Spoiler alert.
Oh, God, yeah. Absolutely.
Everybody wanted to see what the big cathartic finale was. And instead, the twist was, there is no finale. They're just eating French fries.
Yeah.
And they might die or they might go
on. They might not. It's your call. Yeah. And that angered a lot of people. And a lot of people thought that's brilliant because you could never satisfy us with a great ending.
There's really no true satisfying ending to anything, right?
Breaking Bad.
Yeah. It's great.
Right.
Stuck the landing.
Fine. Back to the Future, I guess. I don't know. Yeah. We'll just keep going back to the Future.
But another point to that, though, is it's kind of a setup payoff thing where a lot of these things are setup payoffs. Like even like Leia in space and stuff like that. It was like, she's dead. No, she isn't.
I know.
Luke, he sacrificed himself. No, he didn't.
No, he didn't. Yes, he did.
It's like, how many times can you pull that?
Yeah.
I'm not sure how many times you can pull that. I'm not sure that it totally worked for me, especially with the Luke one. That one might have been one too many. I'd have been like, just leave him alive. Like, pull what they didn't get out.
Yeah.
Give us the message and keep him alive.
Are you saying that, to clarify what you're saying, are you saying that the movie was doing that ruse to us as the audience? Like,
yes.
Too many times.
I think they rug pulled on us so many times that it almost got to the point that it was one too many.
It lessened the resonance of the big moments.
Yeah, because you almost want to sit. It's almost like those moments like a performer would do, where you tell a joke and you wait for the laugh.
You wait for the laugh to die.
Instead, it was like maybe hitting us with
1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah,
like, I'll laugh, make you cry. But there were a lot of those that seemed like a central gimmick that was being used.
Yeah. Also, that part of it does kind of seem like the auteur nature of Rian Johnson, doesn't it?
That's true.
It's nothing that another Star Wars movie ever felt like it was doing.
No.
It's just another in a long series of things. This movie does not feel like a Star Wars movie in a lot of ways, but in a great way. Oh, man, it's such a hard.
It's a hard movie to talk about, definitely. Yeah.
The setup thing, it would have reminded me of, and I'm not even sure that this is really valid for this, but Terry Rossio's website, Word Player, he used to talk about this idea for setups.
It's the best, by the way.
Yeah, it's still the best, and nobody goes there because it's old.
Yeah, it looks like
Terry Rossio's the guy who wrote the Pirates movies.
Pirates
Shrek,
movies,
Small Soldiers,
Shrek, Small Soldiers. So many Zorro, all these different things.
Yeah. Tons.
We'll get to his Little Monsters.
Did he write Little Monsters?
That was his first, I think.
Oh,
him
awesome.
and this guy Ted Elliott.
Yeah.
But I think Ted's retired or something.
I love most of his career.
Well, he's got these columns online that even I think non-screenwriters would appreciate because he has a different way of speaking about it. But he has this notion of door A, door B, and door C. Okay, and he says most things have a door A and B. Are raised parents important? Yes. Are raised parents important? No. And he always says the challenge of a screenwriter is to give us door C. And Dorsey is often the combination of A and B is the way it would be, you know. And I kept coming back to that with these kind of yes or no things. Like, it seemed like he was surprising us by doing, like, it's easy to surprise people in a Game of Thrones episode by killing someone.
Yeah.
You know, that's door A or B. Well, they'll never kill. Oh my God, they killed somebody. Ah! You know, that's why Game of Thrones works so well. But the door C, that's what Breaking Bad, I think, always did so well when I used to watch Breaking Bad. Was it would always figure out door C, and I'd be like, wow, how did they figure that out? That is awesome that they figured it out.
Can you give a Dorsey example from a movie? Just to help with clarifying.
Well,
do you need it? I don't know.
No, I don't need. No, yeah.
You understand?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Well, I'm asking for an example.
I can give you the clarification he gives that's simple.
Okay.
Breaking Bad would be the perfect way to do it, but I don't. My memory might fail me, so I don't want to do it. Like, I keep thinking of how he like got out of the tape scene. Like, when I won't go into that one.
Okay.
Because I won't remember. Here's the one they give in the website. A gun goes off, and now I'm gonna have to do this from memory. I screwed off. Two people are wrestling. A gun goes off. Did the one person die, or did the other person die? Is kind of the typical A and B, and then he would always be like C, like what's C, and it might be like the gun went off, and then the first person felt bad, so they rushed them to the hospital. Or I mean, that's a horrible example.
Yeah. Okay. No, but it's also,
or the gun went off and killed a guy in the corner.
Exactly.
It's similar to the Coen brothers said this.
Or both of them died.
You
know, it's
it wasn't that gun; it was a gun over here.
That's Indiana
if you can
Jones
get yourself,
if
you can get your character into a situation where you every single thing you come up with, there's no way they could get out of it.
Right.
You know, and then that will force you to come up with the Dorsey, which is something that we would never think of, you know, to get out of the situation.
It's a dangerous prospect too, because those can be eye rollers.
Is that a good good
The
comparison?
Breaking Bad one, and this is a spoiler for Breaking Bad people. I'll try to do it by memory. Is when his brother-in-law finally caught him. Did you watch Breaking Bad?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so his brother-in-law finally caught him. And he like gave him like a day. He said, I'm bringing you in tomorrow. So door A would be, I'm bringing you in, or you going to go. Door B would be, he runs for it. And instead, door C was, I have all these tapes and evidence that you're going to go down with me. That's door C.
Yeah.
You know, so that's how he got out of it. Breaking Bad did it like on a weekly basis, which is why I was so impressed by that show. It's like every week they'd find a door C, and I'd be like, wow, they found
without betraying the characters too.
Without betraying the characters, without being too
you got to find a way that it's organic and not contrived. So it can't, the anvil falls from the sky. You know,
so,
like,
oh, look at this hole in another dimension. I'll jump through it. Yeah,
because that's a constant thing I'm dealing with, like with the reading scripts is, this feels contrived rather than something that would actually happen. So it's got to feel like
it's a tricky thing with Dorsey.
Dorsey has to feel like it's the thing that would happen, but it's coming up with that reversal of expectation and going, holy shit, that is exactly what would happen. But it's also something that like the audience never would have thought about.
I also feel like being I don't want to call myself a professional of watching bad or weird obscure movies.
You're as professional as that gets.
I guess
closer to a profession as it is.
And if that was a profession, I would probably be pretty good. You should
put that on your taxes.
Right. The one thing that me and my cohort in doing that have also realized is that it kind of feels like a Dorsey, is that because of those movies and the way they're made and the way they were made in the VHS days, is that they didn't have the time and production and like no one was paying attention. So it seems like a lot of Dorseys just happened because they don't know how to finish the movie and they had to change something. And so it's weird because they become more enjoyable because there's like, what? Yeah. There's just a bunch of like, the movie takes this like just hard left. And it's like, that's how you're finishing the story out? Amazing. Well, you know, even though it's terrible, it's amazing. So, yeah.
Offline.
Yeah, they do it because of production, not because of ideas.
And that's, they kind of always say that, right? They always, that's one of those tropes that they tell filmmakers is the lack of budget will actually help you be more creative.
Yeah.
More
Jaws.
Jaws.
So the shark
was a good idea.
Not working, right?
But we were talking offline about how characters are really why we come to movies and interesting characters. For me, that is definitely true. But I also really appreciate the Dorseys of the world, the cleverness of writing and things like that. The people that come up with these kind of things. I take notice of that usually, and I sit up and I'm like, that's a screenwriter that I really admire and would like to be like when they come up with these clever things.
Oh, I love when I see something that I never would have come up with, and I'm like, that's awesome.
Right.
You know, when a movie not like I'm a great writer, but when a movie makes me feel like a hack,
Yeah.
I love those moments when I'm sitting in a movie theater. I'm like, holy shit, that is so clever. Exactly. That's genius. Yes.
Not kind of a rare thing though, right? With blockbusters.
With blockbusters,
I mean, there are a few of them.
Yeah.
I think if I had to name one that kind of surprised me in that way, in a script writing way, it'd be Kingsman.
Yeah, Kingsman's a very clever movie. You know that I'm jealous of the if the screenwriters make me jealous, and
that's what I mean. That's what I mean. If the screenwriting makes me jealous
as a writer,
of
that
its
movie
achievements,
I walked out of that movie jealous of all the aspects of that movie. I was like, in every way, I was like, I'm jealous of every moment, the build up, and I wish I was a part of that movie. Yeah. I know that's a weird pull.
No.
The whole script just felt clever. The payoffs were great, and it did things I was not expecting.
The Dorseys.
The Dorseys. Now I have a name for it. I didn't know that term. So
I wish I had a better example for it, but that's a Dorsey.
You'll think of them right when we stop.
No,
yeah. This would have been good to talk about.
This would have been a great Dorsey.
Just go watch Breaking Bad and read.
Yeah,
Terry's
on a
column.
daily. Yeah,
I mean,
Terry's column is
dude.
great.
You don't have to tell me twice. Yeah. I've watched that.
What's
like 3
the name
times,
of it,
so.
Jamie? Terry's column. What's the?
I don't know the name of that column. I mean, that's a problem. He has like 36 columns.
What's the name of the website?
Oh, Word Player.
Word Player.
Word
yeah.
Player.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's get back to
Last Jedi.
Last Jedi for a little bit.
Okay, well let's talk
because we got I know now we're just talking about Dorseys. We were at the throne room scene, but let's talk about Luke's arc. Because I feel like we talked about Luke, we didn't talk about his full arc, right?
Yeah.
Well, you want to talk about the theme of the movie? That's a big discussion.
No, it's almost the same thing.
It's the same thing.
Yeah.
So
we also, I would love to talk about the Yoda scene too.
I'll tell you what. So, I think it's two things. I think I feel like on one hand you could argue it's another one of those value discussions. He's basically saying like I have no value to these people. I'm only gonna harm things. I'm not gonna hurt things. I mean, I'm not gonna help things. But I really think it's the spiritual disconnection. It's a reconnecting with the Force, like a gaining spiritual connection. Because for me the big midpoint of the movie actually is the moment he reconnects with Leia.
Yeah.
So he has this moment where he's said out loud that he's disconnected from the Force, and like so that's why like upon watching this movie for like the 4th time I realized, and I don't agree with this creative decision, but I think this movie is saying all the crazy shit that is happening, all of the death, all of the destruction, the rise to power of the First Order, 100% this movie places the blame on Luke Skywalker and his decision to, during the failure at the school, to pack up and say, fuck this, I'm done, I give up, instead of learning from his mistakes and training more Jedi to help. He gives up. And this movie basically poses, in my opinion, if he didn't do that, Snoke wouldn't have risen to power. There would be the Republic
left to fear,
the Republic. Yeah, the Republic.
Okay.
So this movie is like blaming all that shit on his disconnecting from spirituality. So I didn't think that the first time through, but I really think that that's what this is about. So like when he reconnects with the Force and uses it to like spark, the rebellion again and save everybody, then for me that's the arc. But I don't know. Is it value? I don't know.
Wrong. No.
Dude, I would love that. Fuck
thanks
you,
everybody
dude.
for listening. Yeah, it's like yeah.
It can only be self-confidence or learning to care.
Learning to care.
Well, then learning to care,
I'm
right?
just kidding.
Yeah. I don't think his confidence is ever compromised, is it?
He seems like
I think he lacks
confidence in his
Really?
ability to help.
I think he gets his mojo back.
His mojo. Yeah, the Force. He gets the Force back. What do you think, Jamie?
Is there a difference between doubting your ability to do something versus doubting if you're doing the right thing? Because that's different than confidence.
I think so.
I think they're both confident.
Because to me, he seems like he knows he could do stuff. He knows he could actually like come back and do some samurai shit.
But knowing you can do stuff and knowing that that's working,
that has value.
That has value.
And I think that's a confidence thing.
So he's a little both columns.
Yeah, I think so. I think he needs to. So yeah, there you go. Care. Confidence.
He's both characters.
He's both. Yeah, because for me, like, it was
that really boils it down so violently.
Dude, I'm going to use that from now on.
We'll test it.
I like it. We're going to test it in every single one.
Makes things a lot easier, right?
Like, for me, the big moment for Luke is and again, I didn't get this the first time. The first time around, I was kind of like, every single time something with Luke happened, I was like,
you were reeling, man.
I hate this, right? But now that I understand it, like, like the first time I was listening to the Yoda conversation, and I was on the side of Red Letter Media guys. I was like, Yoda doesn't talk like this. Yoda's the Jedi Master who's serious. The jokey Yoda is not the real Yoda.
If you get a few drinks in Yoda,
right? Yeah. But I was like, who's this jokester? That's not Yoda. Yoda's the other guy. But anyway, you know, when Yoda tells Luke like failure is the greatest teacher, Luke he sits back and he goes. Like, he has this moment of revelation and realizing, like, oh, I was supposed to learn from when I failed to teach the Jedi before, and I'm supposed to do something more than just
It's interesting you say that, and again, maybe if I saw the movie more than once on the night it came out, I'd have a better opinion about this. But my memory of it, I was taking, like, the failure is the greatest teacher kind of thing. Which also, I think there's a whole bunch of words that sound like themes in this movie. There's the whole thing about that you mentioned that Rose says to Finn. There's all these different things.
Oh no,
it's too much.
Hitting you in the face.
Yeah, in
with
the
mottos.
face.
Yeah.
Here's the lesson, everyone. It's like an Aesop's Fable book smashed into itself.
It's really on the nose.
So the question
is, really on the nose.
The question is, you know, were they just throwing those? Were those just kind of lines of dialogue? Were there lots of messages here, which I'm sure many movies have lots of messages?
I think there's too many.
Was there a central theme?
I think he viewed every arc as having its own message.
Its own message. Yeah, I think that's a good point.
The Yoda thing is Luke's message.
Right, and I keep wanting to come back because it's very easy to say failure is the greatest teacher or whatever kind of thing. That could tie to anything in a character arc. Almost. That's almost as... so that's why I'm going to keep that as my central theme. Yeah. And the part if I saw it last night like you, maybe I would have talked myself out of it.
Next time invite Jamie, man. What are you doing?
Shit, next time I'll give you a text.
I would have bought popcorn or something.
I've never seen jealous of preparedness.
Jamie has a kid, level, man. I don't have a kid.
Yeah, there you go. So if I would have seen it though, maybe I would talk myself out of this, but I kept coming back to the failure was him trying to kill Kylo. And the failure you're going to probably is more right than what I have, which is closing down the Jedi, giving up on the Jedi.
He gave up.
But so here's the way I came at it. I came at it that maybe the arc is giving up on hope.
Yeah. And there's a lot of statements about hope in the movie.
So he was trying to heavy-handedly kill Kylo and take matters into his own hands and shut everything down. That to me was like giving up on hope, giving up on optimism towards people. And that's a thread that goes back to Obi-Wan Kenobi in the original movies, because I think Obi-Wan always had hope and optimism towards you know, the Jedi and that we will win. And I think Luke closed that off. So this was Luke kind of getting back to the Obi-Wan of it.
Yeah.
You know,
and that's going back to the best moment in the prequels easily, which is when he screams, you know, you were the one, you're the chosen one. Yeah.
I thought you meant when he screamed, no.
Well, that too, obviously.
When Vader screams.
When Vader screams, no.
The best part, when you say the best part of the trilogy, or the original.
Oh, right. The prequels.
It's easy to get.
But no, that's like a great moment in film. I mean, even the film it's in, but you know, like when he screams that's the loss. That's when he became the Obi-Wan in New Hope. When he was like, well, I guess nothing matters because you were born like Jesus and nothing matters. So it doesn't, you're in a fire pit. Okay. But do you feel, I don't know how to ask this question about We're talking about Luke's arc.
Not to interrupt, but super quick. I think one way I learned to think about arc, it's really simple. I mean, people get all lost in arc and stuff, but you just kind of look at it. How is Luke different from the beginning of the movie to the end?
He's pretty damn different.
He's pretty damn different.
Yeah.
So it's just a question of, in the beginning, he was a guy who wanted to be alone in an island and just die with nobody bothering him.
Yeah.
And in the end, he actually intervenes to save the 10 rebels that
left.
resistance that are
so
left.
that it'll spark maybe something.
Exactly.
Even
so
if it fails, he was still down to do it.
Yeah, he did it.
Yeah. Where in the beginning, he thought if he took any action, it would only make things worse. Where in the end, he was willing to go out there and take the action. So whatever the internals are that got him there, or the lessons learned that got him there, that's his arc.
Yeah.
And there's a few ways you could
There's
track
a couple ways. Yeah.
That brings us kind of full circle to what you were saying at the beginning, that when we're talking, listen to us talk about Rey's arc, and we're kind of all lost.
Right.
But Luke is kind of well defined. Like, what you said, it's his movie.
It's his movie, and I didn't think that. It should be, but it goes against conventional wisdom because he's only in it for like 10 minutes. You know what I mean? Like,
God, is it really only? No, it has to be like half an hour.
It's like 20 minutes, but I'm saying like he's in it.
Jimmy saw it last night.
Yeah,
he knows.
Hey man, I wrote it down.
You had a stopwatch.
No, but
I guess I never thought
he's in it for a short.
That was like up for question to me when you brought that up at the beginning when I said about
whose movie is it.
I always thought it was his
movie. I didn't think so,
dude. His head's the biggest on the poster, of course. Yeah.
No, I know, but I think the audience is there now for.
I
don't think so. I don't agree.
The old audience is there for Luke, but
that's who these people are.
Yeah, I thought it was his movie the way it was Han Solo's movie in the last movie. Even though it was Rey's movie.
Which I don't agree with.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't feel like Force Awakens is Han Solo's movie.
Yeah. Well, I
do not like Force Awakens though, so
yeah,
I'm of a different opinion.
Yeah. No, I don't think.
Yeah.
I think the first movie was Han Solo's movie in quotes, but I think it was really Rey's story.
It was Rey's story. That's what I'm saying. But for me, I
would definitely say
Luke's...
it was Rey's. That was Rey's movie, and that's why I don't like Force Awakens because I want it to be Han
Solo's movie.
No quotes.
It should be Han Solo's movie.
Yeah. And I thought this movie going into it was. I didn't think it was Luke's movie the way you're saying. I thought it was Luke's movie the way it was Han Solo's movie in The Force Awakens.
Yeah.
So it is kind of a revelation to me that it's Luke's movie.
I don't know. It's hard. You haven't seen.
Yeah.
But his actions are the ones that ultimately are save the rebellion. So for me, yeah.
No, I think that I don't think it's really arguable. His arc is really defined. I mean, as far as differences from beginning to end, it's pretty different.
So the only reason I'd say that to me that's tricky is because he doesn't do a lot in the movie. He basically says no. Okay. I'm gonna burn it down, and now I'm back. You know, not to diminish it. I think it's earned. I think
it's definitely earned.
But he's not fighting or doing anything. He's just basically sitting there saying, "I'm not going to do anything for so long." And a lot happens in the movie.
Yeah, by a lot of other characters taking action.
Taking action.
Yeah.
So,
do you think he needed? Would the movie feel even more earned if it wasn't just Yoda that incited him to do something?
I think it could be.
Like the battle comes to the island, or
I thought it was gonna come to the island and force him into it.
Leia dies during the battle.
I thought there'd be a Kylo trick.
I thought that Leia was going to die in that attack in the salt field or whatever that you want to call that place, and that he would feel it, and that was going to be that was what I thought was going to happen, is that he would feel Leia die at the hand of the First Order, and then he'd be like, well, fuck this.
Wow.
And that would be the only thing that could make him do it. And I was completely wrong. So, but I thought that's where the script would go.
But like,
that's the obvious thing to do, though. So,
well, character arcs are tricky that way.
Are.
Like, is his character arc earned? Is the real question. How was it earned? Can we track how it was earned?
Yeah.
Was it really just a bunch of philosophical discussions that eventually earned his thing?
Philosophical discussions by others or by him, by Rey?
Yoda.
I think it's just his action that he took it upon for after everything that had happened. Due to his inaction, he redeemed himself in the end, because all the rebellion's dead because of him, but it's gonna survive. And he even says it with his own words, you know, today the rebellion is reborn. It's going to live on, and the fight has just begun. And that's because he's there, and he's like the spark, you know. And so I would say it's earned through his action, not through anything that's said. Do you know what I mean? But you're saying tracking it leading up to that?
Yeah. What brought about his change to take that action?
Well, Yoda doesn't come to him though until he reconnects. He has disconnected, and the first time he reconnects, like to me, this movie is arguing that like he didn't know Han Solo was dead, and the reason he didn't know any of this shit was happening is he disconnected literally from the Force. He couldn't feel any of this stuff. He hasn't talked to Leia through this for all these years, for like Kylo's whole life, right? Like, and then like Rey says this stuff, and she starts going through her trials and tribulations, and he finally says, okay, I'm going to sit here, I'm going to talk to Leia, and he connects with her, and they feel each other, and then Yoda shows up. Yoda shows up when he decides to like reconnect. You know, he takes action. So I do think it's through his actions, you know, and then he's like, I'm going to burn it down, you know, like he's about to like, yeah.
I think you hit a key point in writing. It's like, you don't want a character arc, and I see a lot of this in new writers where they set up the character arc and then they just change the
end. Just happens.
It's just magical.
Yeah.
Almost like they're checking a box.
Right.
Like they know they need a character arc, so when they're done, they kind of tack on page 90 the character arc, and it's just done.
Yeah, it's unearned.
It's unearned. But what you kind of described, there's milestones.
Yeah,
There's like, and you need almost a beginning, middle, and end.
Yeah.
Sometimes actually when I will outline one of my new screenplays, I'll actually do a separate outline right in the side that I actually track the beats of the character arc.
That's
just to make sure that it has a beginning, middle, and end. Just to make sure that there's a progression.
That we see things that the character doing things, not just saying things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it feels earned, and that's what we mean by feeling earned. So it sounds like it has.
There are 2 or 3 beats where he takes action. Yes.
Yeah, and I think in this movie, like if I was outlining this movie, if I was sitting down to outline this movie, I'd probably outline every single one of these storylines with their own beginning, middle, and end separately.
Yeah.
But then I'd also, on top of that, probably have arcs on each one that I'd do separately. So I'd probably have like 6 different outlines.
It would be so dense.
Yeah, it would just be a big Excel spreadsheet probably with like a bunch of columns and stuff. Because every one of the stories, Finn's story, Poe's story, Rey's story, Luke's story, which all come together in the end. They all do have beginning, middle, and ends. They all have their own character arcs.
Yeah.
So they all could be separate movies. And I almost feel like it's starting to feel like, and you and I talked about this a little, like television.
I very much feel like this is television.
Yeah.
This is almost feeling like a season of television or something.
Yeah.
Like that's what I see the movies as. Not even an episode, but they almost feel like a season.
Do you think it's trying too much? Or do you think that's a credit to the
story? Trying too much to be like that?
No, trying to do too much with one story.
I could easily see this being a season of television, 10 hours as opposed to 2.5.
So it's all rushed.
Luke's story could be a whole episode or 3 by itself.
Yeah.
Like that whole story with Rey.
You think it would be better if they didn't do that with all the characters?
I don't know about better. It is what it is, so I understand
It's an ensemble movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
More so than some of the other Star Wars movies.
And that's
a lot going on.
That's a little
They handled it all with all the side characters with care, except for freaking, what's her name? Chrome Dome.
She was not handled well in Force Awakens, though. She was never handled well.
She was always the joke in Force Awakens.
We got to see her eyeball.
Oh, yay. I don't know why I care.
But imagine if this were 10 hours, how much more we could do with her. And how you could bring all those things out. And that's why the Finn story, to me, almost feels like this. Oh, we need a story for Finn.
Yeah.
And there's this whole diversion where they're being chased by, through hyperspace or whatever. And and he just kind of goes on this little joyride. It feels tacked on to me.
It does.
There was something about it that was like, we need a Finn story. What's Finn's story? And they gave him a story, and the story was fully developed. But it felt like you could almost cut it, or another movie.
Well, especially since they fail at what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's inconsequential. Yeah.
It doesn't mean it just teaches us a lesson about how corrupt the galaxy is. and then doesn't do anything.
And truth be told, that's how they do it.
Right? It's just for the audience
it's
to be
thematic.
like, hey, later on you're going to learn about this stuff, so just know it now.
And truth be told, in TV, that would kind of work.
Yeah.
Is you to have episodes by themselves.
Episode 7 of Stranger Things season 2.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? That's what it is.
I don't know that a lot of people would agree with that. That would be a good choice to do it.
I liked episode 7.
I found it an interesting creative choice.
I haven't seen it.
I'm not
Shame.
Sure it was executed as well. That's because you're busy watching all these movies.
Yeah. You're just going on the movies so much, man. I think that The Last Jedi could cut a storyline, and that'd be nice.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would make it a better movie.
Me too.
In my opinion, of someone who loved the movie.
Yeah.
Cut something. Maybe, like you said, the Laura Dern thing. I don't think introducing that character and having her heard.
Why wasn't that Leia?
I love Laura Dern.
Why wasn't that Leia?
Yeah,
It just would take less time if it was Leia, because the audience doesn't need to get to know who Leia is. And
to me, the only
the
reason
ruse
that
could
it's,
work too.
Yeah.
I don't.
To me, the only reason it's not Leia is because they were gonna keep her alive for one more movie.
Right.
Like you could have. That would have been a great death for her character,
Yeah,
saving the.
But then again, can you blame them if that was the plan? They didn't know she was going to die.
No, I'm saying though, you're gonna kill off Han Solo and Luke Skywalker. Why not add Leia to the mix?
And I get the feeling maybe that was their plan. The third movie,
they made a promise that they
okay.
decided not to kill her in this movie. Like when she died, I remember that was like a press release. Like she will not die in this movie.
In that scene where that's the other thing. I almost felt if people are angry about that space, her flying through space.
Mary Poppins.
I'm not.
I'm okay with it, but it felt to me like a setup for a payoff that might happen either in this movie or the next.
Yeah.
Now, because of the way we've talked about how these movies are written, setting something up in this movie doesn't mean they're going to pay it off in the next movie.
Maybe he was talking to Colin Trevorrow though at the time.
It could be,
and
there was
like
rumors of that.
Like
but they can't pay it off because they make a CG Leia.
Well,
no, but the plan in place before
right.
she died.
Right.
It's very possible that he talked to Colin Trevorrow and was like, "I'm going to do this. Will you do this? Will you please pay this off?"
For a brief second, I thought she was going to die there.
Me too.
I thought this is kind of a good end because I feel it, and she had died in real life, and it kind of impacts in that way, and it's a surprise.
Yeah.
And my mind was already spinning, like maybe they went back and redid this and cut her out of the rest of the story. So I actually thought it would have worked as a pretty good ending for her if she did die in that scene.
I agree.
I just got really annoyed with people arguing if she could force push herself through
Yeah.
zero G in like 200 yards. I was like, that is not hard. I know that's not a script problem, but I was just like, it's not that big of a deal. She wasn't flying. Does no one understand space?
It's also a thing where I feel like I've seen something like that before in the Star
Guardian.
Wars movie.
Oh, I was gonna say it feels very much like
I
a
don't
scene
know
in
why.
Guardians.
I feel like I've seen people fly through space in a Star Wars movie at some point, like or at least be
You're
outside
thinking
the
of
ship.
something else, I think.
Yeah, I don't think there's anybody
But
in the
isn't
Star
in the
Wars.
prequels? Wasn't there a scene where somebody was outside the ship once or something? I don't know why. I have a feeling maybe they didn't force push themselves, but I don't think they needed a spacesuit. Like I've never seen anybody in a spacesuit.
In a spacesuit,
you can survive in the vacuum of space for like 30 seconds.
Yeah, I've done it.
That's right. Well, no, that's why she was in a coma. I mean, she barely made it out of that. It wasn't like Superman or anything. She barely made it.
Yeah.
Whatever. There was no way I think they could enact that scene that would not be corny.
Yeah. Well,
it seemed corny, and it has to be.
I think if it came back in the end, it felt like a setup to me. I thought it was going to come back in the end that she was going to do something with the Force, and we were going to learn her whole Force backstory that she had hidden as a secret all these years.
Yeah.
And that would have worked fine.
Snoke. No. Right. That's what. But isn't that like something the fans wanted? Like huge, annoying.
Like Luke
thing.
was Snoke.
Yeah. Wouldn't that ruin him
that
more?
That would be so dumb.
For everyone complaining that this ruined Luke Skywalker, you don't want what reveal that wouldn't you have hated? You know, like I'm talking to the anonymous person sitting in that chair. You know, like what? And also, I think the last thing I want to talk about, and then we're gonna stop.
Yeah,
is from a script standpoint, if this script did everything the way it was supposed to do on the surface, like if this was Force Awakens 2, which it most certainly is not, if it was written as Force Awakens 2, would anyone have enjoyed it? Is that what you got? Would you guys have enjoyed it at all?
I think you would have gotten the exact same reactions you got to Force Awakens. You got all the
this is what this is.
Yeah.
It's just a rehash, or
I think Force Awakens did have broader appeal, though, right?
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely.
It was more critically acclaimed.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not. I don't know about that part.
No, that's not true. Critics love this movie.
Critics loved this one, but critics loved Force Awakens.
Yeah, they did.
It was like a 90.
Yeah.
I
remember-
96 or something.
I remember a certain person that used to always talk to us that used to quote that.
Oh man, I had to end up blocking him.
Okay.
So
I know who that is.
yeah, I had a few friends who ended up blocking him. So he's very passionate about Force Awakens.
Well,
so.
and he likes doing it by the numbers. So, but yeah,
I wish anyone knew what we were talking about, but it's fine.
So it had a
ignore that sound, by the way. It'll stop.
That's our theme song.
Is that sound? Is that the dog tray sound?
Block.
Yeah.
What were we talking about? Oh yeah,
we were talking about whether it was by the numbers.
If it was basically Force Awakens, if J.J. Abrams was directing this and the same team was behind it, if it was like, yeah, it's everything you expected.
Big wizard battle with Luke using
Rey's parents are former Jedis. Maybe she's Luke's daughter. Luke's daughter. Snoke is like Darth Vader's son or some crap. I don't know. Just shit like that. If it was all the stuff you kind of just assumed.
Boba Fett shows up.
Yeah.
Snoke is Boba Fett. Basically, I'm just saying do you think
Jar Jar?
That I would love it.
Yeah, I would too.
If Jar Jar turned out to be Snoke, I would actually have been like, I'm down 100%. Because I'm totally down with that theory of Jar Jar being the reason for all this. But I'm saying, do you feel like you would enjoy the movie at all? Like, is there more than a movie that at least surprised you from the writing standpoint and everything?
You make a really good point. I found this is probably a byproduct of being a screenwriter, right? I actually much prefer the second movies in series, because I never know when they're going to end. I didn't know when this was going to end. I had forgotten about the whole Salt Planet stuff from the trailers by the time I was watching. I kind of didn't pay that much attention to the trailers on purpose.
They were really terrible. I thought the marketing was awful for this movie.
So. It almost seemed intentionally underplayed in some ways. Like, you're going to go see it anyway. So
they really could just say a new Star Wars. They don't need to show stuff. Yeah. I almost would prefer that.
I've gotten actually pretty good. Maybe it's just I'm getting bored with movies or something, but I've actually gotten pretty good at avoiding some of the trailers.
Yeah.
And this particular movie was one of the first that I did that with. And I had kind of forgotten that I'd seen that Salt stuff. Yeah. So I really didn't know where it was going to end. I thought it was coming to an end, and then there was a whole nother chapter.
Me too. Exactly.
And I love that.
Yeah, me too.
One of the greatest movie experiences of my life as a kid was Raiders of the Lost Ark for that reason. Because I had never seen a movie that just kept topping itself. It was
right.
Just kept, let's do another sequence. And I was like, what is this? When's this movie going to end? I have no idea. Keep going. And I was thrilled. So in that sense, I tend to like movies that break structure and things like that.
Me too.
That said, writing them yourself is dangerous territory. Especially if you're writing an original thing. But risk reward, right? You break the rules and you break them in the best possible way. You have a huge reward at the end of the day. So
that's a good point.
But yeah, I guess
it's nice to hear you say you like sequels.
Yeah, well, I like the middle movies the best.
Okay,
those middle ones, because I really don't.
You kind of have an idea by the last movie what's going to happen.
You come in on the middle. They because it's almost like skipping the first act in some ways, and a lot of you're just.
I'm a huge fan. Yeah. A lot of my favorite movies are sequels. I know that seems so hollow, but. Because it gets the premise out of the way.
No, there are a lot of sequels too. Like when I grew up, that were just rehashes of the original. That
like Die Hard 2 or something.
Yeah, something like that. Or even like The Hangover 2. If you remember.
Hangover 2 is the exact same movie.
It's the exact same.
And then the third one is bonkers.
And I kind of like the third.
Oh no, the third. I like third Hangover. Yeah.
But yeah, I actually like movies that can break the rules, and I think the second ones in series can break the rules.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, for me, I am glad that it did things that I didn't want it to do or think it was going to do, and so especially upon repeat viewings,
which you're very well aware that you've had many. Yeah.
For me, I can tell like how good a movie is by its rewatchability. Like every time you watch it, if you watch it every time and you pick up new things and it's worth the rewatch, and you're loving it more because of the things that you didn't appreciate about it before, then it's done its job, Right. And every time I see this movie, I I realize things I missed the first time, which I love that. I love that I'm watching a Star Wars movie and I'm missing something. You know what I mean? And I pick it up the next time. I'm like, oh, I totally get it now. And that's awesome.
Wow.
You know? Yeah, I've never said that about a Star Wars movie.
Really? You don't feel like that about like Empire or anything?
No.
Then again, we've been living with those movies our whole
it's
lives.
hard for me to tell.
How do you,
like
there's
a
nothing,
child.
There's nothing new to be said about the OT.
Yeah,
We've all said it, I guess. So
yeah.
But I assume that when they originally came out, people had to have that feeling, right?
They were the first movies that as kids we saw over and over and over again. It was actually like a competition. Like you'd show up for school, and this is before VHS and stuff, so you had to see them in the theater. So
it's just in the theater, right?
And you know, I'd show up and I said, I saw it 30 times, and then somebody else, I saw it 142. You know, and it was all, it's like, yeah, right.
Yeah, right.
And so it was a big deal. That was the first movie that people saw. I mean, I'm speaking in generalities, but I think it's almost true. It's the first movie that people just saw over and over and over and over and over.
Where quantity became the thing.
Where quantity became the thing. And it was the first movie I saw like that for sure. I did see it in the I probably said I saw it 150 times. So if you were in grade school with me, I did. It was probably more like 20. But it was honestly like 20 times.
But 20 times is a lot.
A lot.
Yeah,
and they force your parents to go see a movie. But like every birthday party, we'd go see it. Every summer
it stayed in the movies for that long of a time.
Different too.
Yeah.
It stayed in the New Hope stayed in the theaters. It wasn't called that, I guess, then. But
just Star Wars.
I'll use the vernacular for the youngins, the younglings.
Hey, somebody who heard New Hope now would be like in college. So
yeah, absolutely.
Time has passed, sadly. Yeah.
So it would stay it was there for I don't know exactly, but probably a full year, and then they kept re-releasing it. That was the interesting thing about, and that's what the bigger movies used to do, like American Graffiti, all the Lucas movies.
That explains why I have memories of being able to see these movies, because they came out after I was born, but I saw Return of the Jedi in the movies. Like,
well, 97.
No, I'm talking about when I was a child. Yeah. So Return of the Jedi was 82, right?
82 or 83. I can't remember.
I was born in 80.
Okay.
So I mean, they must have been re-releasing them like later.
I don't remember about Return of the Jedi, but it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah,
because I know Raiders got the re-release.
Because all of your stories about like the toys and everything, I was the same way, but I wasn't even born when those first two movies came out. You know what I mean?
I'm younger than you guys, and I mean, like, I had the toys and stuff.
That's so. How did it sustain?
Well,
it's so crazy.
Stuff doesn't go away.
Yeah.
Also, 97 was a huge injection.
Yeah, that's true.
There's a really good Netflix television.
Oh yeah, the toys that made us.
Toys that made us.
And then there's an Amazon documentary too that kind of goes through the whole history of the toys and how they're reinvented.
I haven't seen the Amazon documentary.
But back when I was a kid, the movies that kept getting re-released were Disney movies. Like, they were the ones. So Pinocchio would come back.
Yeah.
And every few years they'd almost rotate. Like, this year it's Cinderella.
The vault. They'd open the vault.
Yeah.
Best marketing ploy ever.
And one day they'd own Star Wars.
Right.
Yeah. And then VHS killed it.
Okay.
Well, like, you can watch it anytime.
Like, the last thing I think I can say about Last Jedi is that somebody was arguing on Facebook, as everybody did for like 3 months, arguing on Facebook about this movie, and somebody was just like, hey, jerk, remember, this is a movie for selling toys. Right? And I don't know why that just stuck in my head, but then I said something to Jimmy the first night I saw it. I was like, this to me feels like the first Star Wars movie for adults.
That doesn't feel like it's made for toys.
It doesn't. Like, I hate
specifically for
the
toys.
Porgs. I don't like them, but they're there.
I can just not pay attention to that part, or it doesn't kill me.
Jar Jar and the Ewoks at least did something with the plot. The Porgs don't do anything with the plot, and that annoys me. If they just if like a Porg did something and they needed the Porgs, so they helped.
I think the Ewoks get a lot of hate that they don't deserve.
I love the Ewoks.
Me too.
I don't have any problem with the Ewoks. I mean, they're savage
honestly,
killers.
Jedi's my favorite Star Wars movie, so I'll sit here and say that. I don't care.
It's hard for me to decide.
Yeah,
I would go back even to the Jawas for being kind of cute and funny and silly, and
it's like Star Wars tradition.
Yeah, it's they have those kind of characters, but I don't know. The Ewoks, they killed people.
Outside of the Porgs and the Milk Beast, I don't. This and there is a lot of jokes and stuff in it, and it is silly, but to me, this felt like it was for adults. Yeah, it was for grown up. Star Wars fans who had grown up with it.
Yeah.
And I thought it was a verifiably different feeling.
Well,
me too.
Look, I mean, Lucas always said that he set out to create a movie for kids kind of morality tales, black and white. He hadn't seen that, like, there's the evil and there's the good, and he was looking for that. This movie is they acknowledge it. It's gray. Everything's gray. And could Kylo become kind of good?
So maybe I was totally wrong in the beginning when I said it was kind of like a George Lucas. Because from that aspect, you're right. Yeah. You're actually right.
Though that said, maybe the prequels got a little gray. I mean, because Anakin kind of turning bad, and
Revenge of the Sith is gray.
He did kill a bunch of kids,
and then there's always
like straight up murder children.
And that's what Lucas would always kind of divert to his, these are kids movies kind of thing. And then I was like, well, then why are you doing these, the politics and all that
politics.
And,
politics and child murder. That's
like what kids want to see.
Yeah, exactly.
So I honestly think the prequels stepped away from that first. So I don't know that they were just for kids. I think they were more adult movies in their own way. I think he hid behind the kid movies.
Yeah, it's so weird.
I'm not the biggest fan of those movies, but I think
nostalgically going to see episode 1 is the best theater experience of my life. Not the movie, but the experience of it.
The trailer was one of the first trailers in many years that like gave me goosebumps and made me emotional almost.
I think I like teared up. I was so excited.
It was probably the greatest trailer experience I've ever had in the trailer.
I remember downloading it and it taking 8 hours to download. The trailer. And I remember trying to play it after it had downloaded for 2 hours, and it played like 2 seconds. This is all about screenwriting.
You saw those weird bug things coming over the hill, I think.
Well, how about this? Is there anything left you guys want to say about Last Jedi script wise? Anything any small thing we didn't talk about or anything?
No, I think we touched all the bases.
Yeah, I think so. It's it'd be interesting to see what JJ does with the next one.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know.
Well, this one felt like a punch toward that one. Like, hey, get out of here. So maybe this one will be reacting to the thing that was reacting to his.
Well,
could it? It might be. It might not. I don't know.
Well,
I don't know.
The other weird thing is
is cool.
It is cool.
I don't have any clue where this is all going.
They had a plan in place. Colin Trevorrow and his writer. They bounced them. They brought in another writer for a brief period of time, like a month or so. They bounced him, and then they brought JJ, and I guess Lawrence cast him back.
Oh, did they?
No, I'm sorry. It's Chris Terrio. It's the Justice League writer. He's writing it with JJ.
Okay.
So that scares a lot of people.
Well, Justice League isn't even a movie, so. No, I mean, like like I said this, when sometimes movies get so messed up in the post and stuff, I just don't consider them finished. And that's what that movie is.
It's unfinished.
Yeah. And that is an important note, especially with a movie like that. This movie less so because Rian directed it.
Yeah.
But you can't really judge a screenplay
we
by
should
the
have
movie. We probably should have introduced that at the beginning of the podcast. Now, when you're the director,
it's a good thing to talk about, though.
Yeah.
It's probably closer, but for sure, most movies you can't judge at all.
Yeah, because you don't know. Maybe these course corrections were taken on set. Things that weren't working, they realized in the moment, oh, we need to change this and make it work. Or things that would have made stuff that doesn't work in the finished product, like was shot and it just didn't, it didn't come out right, or for whatever reason they cut it out.
That is probably something we should have talked about. Because I was going to ask you guys, I forgot.
I forgot too.
I forgot because I was thinking about if you were to watch a Terrence Malick movie and then how do you talk about a script on a movie that's just shots of things? You know what I mean?
You don't.
It's like there's nothing to talk about.
It's actually a key educational point, I think, because a lot of people, I think you can judge.
Or you
can blame the screenwriter, and it's really hard to do unless you can read the screenplay.
And then see the
no, definitively.
Well, even we talked about how Max Landis was distancing himself from that. I think there's an example of it didn't turn out. What he thought he put on the page was not what ended up on Netflix.
Exactly.
In this case, Last Jedi, you can't find the script anywhere. It's not I do. We looked up Get Out before we watched Get Out.
Yeah.
You can find that script.
Yeah.
But you can't find Last Jedi. You could find Force Awakens because at the time they thought it might get some nominations.
Oh,
so they release
so they
them in
released
that
it.
case. But even those scripts, what they do is they edit them after the movie. So they don't,
Ah.
because they don't want to give up like that key plot line that they cut.
Or how badly they messed up. or
Yeah.
something.
Exactly.
Yeah, so they make it look good.
No, what I did with Force Awakens is I got the novelization. I like
Oh,
couldn't wait to
okay.
get the novelization, and it did have those cut scenes. It had the first scene originally had like Leia and her assistant or something, which was played by her daughter on
Right.
that planet that blew up, and it had those scenes. It had them in the original order. I'm actually curious to see Last Jedi. Now, here's a weird thing about the Last Jedi novelization. Force Awakens, it came out right away. The Last Jedi's novelization still is not out.
Interesting.
So
Really
they,
weird.
They have time to change it
They're
and
gonna
make it more like
fix
the movie.
it. Yeah. They
Where they
caught
didn't-
on to people.
They didn't have that time with Force
Yeah.
Awakens.
Well, with this kind of fan base too, like other movies probably people don't care.
Yeah.
But for this kind of a fan base, it almost needs to. There's such quality control
Oh,
Yeah.
with that
gosh.
kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I dove into Force Awakens novelization because I really didn't understand the setup of the universe. I didn't understand what the Resistance was in the First Order, and I was trying to figure it out. I couldn't figure it out from the movie.
Yeah, because I've seen you say this, and it's portrayed that the First Order is the rebels.
Yeah, that's a problem
Which
I
is,
have with that. That was the problem I had going into the new trilogy. Is I think the rebels should always be the underdogs.
Yeah.
And I think they magically course corrected in this movie, but
Somehow.
they didn't explain it really.
Not at all.
It was like all of a sudden the First Order is the big
Has the
guns.
power. Yeah.
Even though their biggest weapon just got destroyed.
Yeah,
It's-
which should be devastating.
That part
Yeah.
actually threw me for a loop at the beginning of the movie for a while.
But you didn't think that the fact they had the Star Killer base was made them not the underdogs in Force Awakens?
Well, I think they were kind of like that. That is the turning point. It was like the rebel. You mean the rebel didn't make the rebels the underdogs?
Right. Yeah.
It'd be kind of like the U.S. is here and ISIS suddenly gets a nuclear weapon.
Yeah.
It makes it like they're really dangerous and have to be dealt with.
Yeah.
But I still thought the power in the universe belonged to the rebels. They just had the weapon.
Republic. Yeah.
They were this small group
Yeah,
with
that
a weapon.
the Republic was now reinstated and was the.
So you were like, why is this such a? Okay,
Yeah.
I get what you're saying.
And then-
Yeah,
that
like-
never occurred to me.
Yeah,
Okay,
totally.
That never occurred to me.
After
Okay.
they took out their nuclear weapon,
why are they still dealing?
why are they still even worried?
Can't we just wipe them
Yeah.
out? We've got
Exactly.
all these resources.
We've got all the power of the galaxy.
We've got tons of planets that are
Yeah.
down to just take these guys out.
That's it. And I want to read the Last Jedi's novelization, and I'm sure I could read the other books in the series. They probably have 10 books that explain it.
The leading up to the
Yeah, because the political situation is probably very complicated. Like it's probably like the Resistance is there, but they don't own the universe. They're just a small pocket of freedom fighters in the bigger universe and the Last Order. And there's probably a big.
But you
conflict.
shouldn't need
You're
3
right. You know
novels
what,
in between.
Jamie, I never thought about the difference in the Resistance. The size here is like nothing.
Yeah.
It changes so drastically.
So the first 10 minutes of The Last Jedi, that's all I could think about. And these are the things that happen to me in movies. This happened to me in Force Awakens. And my mind is going off in all these directions. I'm not even paying attention to what Luke's
you're being
talking about or
shown.
whatever.
Yeah.
I'm like, sitting there, why is this, The same thing happened in Force Awakens to me. It really took me out of the movie for the first few minutes. And the scroll is there to tell us these things a little bit, and it helps us a little bit. But I think they've gotten to the point where the scroll is really small. They
keep
for
it
our
fast.
attention spans for cell phones and stuff. They're like, yeah, we can only give people about 100 words now.
Yeah.
We can't give them.
They don't want to read at the theater,
right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I didn't. I had no. I guess I haven't seen Force Awakens more than twice, so I never really thought about the size and the leadership and who's in charge of the galaxy in that movie. So that's something I can't believe more people haven't said that.
I think what it is. Again, whether this goes in the podcast or not, this might be minutia, but I think the way
this is all good.
Yeah, I think the way
all good.
I think the way it's explained is that the what's the word? The Alliance? That's not it. What's the Republic?
The Republic. The new Republic. They were described as.
Leia, she was just worried. She was like, we got to take it to these First Order's a problem. And she was like this right-wing side of the Republic.
Yeah.
Like, we got to take it to them.
Right.
And she created the Resistance. And the Republic and the Resistance had a shaky alliance.
So what is the Republic doing now?
That's the question.
Are they just over there like, we're not doing anything?
It says something about the New Republic in the scroll.
Yeah, and I don't
remember
remember
new
it.
scroll, and I don't remember it either. The New Republic something is in
saw.
shambles.
So if I was writing it, maybe this is how they solved it. I think when they took out that planet in The Force Awakens, I can't remember what the planet's name was.
That was the
I think that could
capital.
That was
of
the capital of the New
Republic.
Republic, probably.
If I was going to explain it without reading the books, and maybe this is answered in the books, that would have set the world into anarchy.
Yeah.
Like that one strike, and the world is it's on the verge of turning back to the Empire days.
Yeah.
And the Last Order is the answer. You know,
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
so they fly in, but it's because they destroyed the seat of the government.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if that's the
I think
answer,
that is
but
what happens.
that's the way I justified
Yeah.
it in my own head.
Wow. I never occurred to me. I guess you know why? Because Force Awakens was such a rehash. I kind of just assumed that the setup was just, it's like the old movies never ended, and these are the bad guys, and they're pretty much in charge. I just assumed it was
No,
sort
it's
of
really
the same.
portrayed like the bad guys have this tiny little sect of people that they're building that they're trying to get big again.
That first
in
scene,
a galaxy. Isn't it weird that the concept that it's not countries in one planet, it's an entire galaxy. It doesn't.
Yeah.
in that first scene that they cut out, that's in the novelization, that's what it pertains to. It's like Leia is there trying to tell everyone, like, this First Order has to be dealt with, you know, and they're like, don't worry about that. You know?
Oh, okay.
So it started with a political scene, but I think JJ knew, you know, after the
Politics
prequels-
again.
Yeah, exactly. So he was like, nobody cares about that stuff. Get to the movie.
One thing I want to say, we're running long, but I want to talk about one more thing. You know, from Force Awakens, that whole thing with Max von Sydow at the beginning,
Right. Mm-hmm.
that storyline, that whatever that was,
Right.
doesn't it feel like that was just completely like where did that go?
Yeah.
It didn't go anywhere. Is that just left on the floor? And
What was the storyline?
Remember, it was at
I
this.
just remember
Going
getting
to
the map.
begin to make things
It
right.
was like that. What was it like? It was an amulet or something.
This is
You're the
going-
Force Awakens guy. Do you remember it was at the
Jimmy
beginning?
just saw it last night.
right.
I
It was
didn't.
at
I
the
swear.
beginning attack in
I
Force
didn't
Awakens.
prepare
and
that
Max von
much.
Sydow he tells him this whole thing.
See, but I don't remember the Force Awakens that much. but
We're all qualified to talk about this.
My memory of the Force Awakens was that the first scene starts with hiding the Luke Skywalker map in BB-8.
Yeah.
Which was exactly ripped off from A New Hope. You know, when they hid the Death Star
Jamie.
plans.
Right. You know what I'm talking about, right?
I thought he just hands him the thing and says, "This is going to begin to make things right." I thought that's
Is
the
that
only
isn't
line.
that the
Oh,
map?
I thought there was
Yeah,
something else.
That's it.
It's
Maybe
the
I'm
map,
just
right?
thinking of the fact that Max von Sydow was a character
Yeah,
for 3
I think
seconds.
you're making this up, Bob.
Yeah. He read
I didn't see Force Awakens that many. I saw it twice. So and it
Yeah,
was
he
like,
hands him the thing, the map.
the map, and
And
then
then
it
he
ends up
says-
in BB-8, and BB-8 runs off, and it's
and then
just like
it's the meta line. This is going to make things right. This movie is going to undo the prequels. Like it's.
I see. I guess, and you can't complain about Last Jedi being meta if you have that.
Yeah.
You know,
That's true.
which even the marketing for Force Awakens was undoing the prequels. Remember they had those shots. They were all like realistic sets and stuff, and then showed that big trailer. Like, look, it's not the prequels,
Right.
everyone! Yay! But it was reminding people why they love Star Wars again.
Exactly. Yeah.
that's right.
And this movie was saying you were wrong.
Yeah. Everything you loved.
Everything you
Kill
love
it.
sucks.
Yes.
Oh, anyway, I think that pretty much sums up everything
Yeah.
we could talk about inside and out. And, you know, I think the moral of the story is watch Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
That's right.
Dorsey.
At least Jamie,
Dorsey.
I think that's Jamie's
Breaking Bad.
moral.
Breaking Bad.
Don't worry about Last Jedi. Just rewatch Breaking Bad. It's all there. Right?
That's right. That's right. Absolutely. And Brick. We didn't talk about Brick.
Oh, yeah, Brick. And Looper.
And
Great.
Brothers Bloom.
He's had an interesting career.
Yeah.
You look at all those movies, you never say give that guy Star Wars, though.
No.
No. Well, there is a... So there is a connection. The DP of the Star Wars movies, who also DP'd all of Rian Johnson's movies,
Mhm.
was the DP of Altered, this awesome science fiction movie that everybody should go see.
Oh, no way. Really?
I've heard that it's just beautifully written.
Beautifully written, right? Probably one of the greatest examples of Dorsey in the industry. So
look up Altered.
Altered.
Not Altered States.
Altered.
Yeah, that's right. Altered.
Yeah. Or that is...
Or Altered Carbon.
Not Altered Carbon, no.
not that.
They're all the altered imposters. You want the original.
The original.
The one that came out after Altered States.
That's right.
Thanks a lot, guys, for doing
Thanks
this.
for listening.
And letting me be the surrogate.
Oh, this
here.
is fun.
I love listening. Yeah, I love listening to you guys talk about it. Go see The Last Jedi. It's probably in theaters for another year. All right. With Jimmy, he'll be there. Bye.
I'll be there. Bye.
You have just listened to Writers Blockbusters, a screenwriting podcast featuring two professionals and another guy. Available only on Thundergrunt.